Bonjour, Willy Mix to review the Chandler Limited Curve Bender by Softube. So you already got all the information you need on the internet. The only thing that I don't really like about this plugin first to start is that it only goes to plus or minus 5. It's not a big problem, but on the outboard you can go to 10, plus or minus 10. That's something that put me into trouble when I tried to review and make comparison with the outboard, because I printed the outboard before and I pushed it a lot so we can feel and hear the color of the outboard, and when I tried the plugin I saw that it only goes to 5. But not a big problem. Let's start with the first example, which is a kick out mic. I've put a loop so it's always the same kick, and I will first compare with the setting matched to the outboard. Let's see how it sounds. So the red one are the outboard and the blue one with the plugins are the Softube version. Okay, so it's very different. It doesn't mean it's bad, it means it's different from the outboard I use at your studio. The transients are different, the high end also is very different if you can listen back. It's like there is more high end in the plugin, so it may be a problem of calibration. I mean, not a problem, but different calibration, different units having different sound and anything doesn't mean anything bad. But I've added another instance of the curve bender, and this time I tried to match the sound instead of the settings to see if it can get a bit closer. So let's listen to it again, starting with the outboard. Getting closer, it's still different in the high end, but it's not a big problem in my opinion. The main thing is that the low end solidity is different. On the outboard I feel it's a lot more solid, in the low end a lot more punch if you want. So I tried to add, as you can see, few plugins here and there. I added an attacker to give more transients, but it didn't work. I tried with True Iron, which is always a kind of saver in those times to compare plugins to outboard. Let's see if it makes a difference. Gets it a little bit closer, but still not there. And I try also to add this one, Spectre by Wave Factory. So let's see if it helps a little bit. It helps. It's closer now. It's still not the same. The solidity on the outboard in terms of low end is still better in my opinion, but it's a lot closer. But still, it's like 3 plugins to emulate one piece of outboard, but still not the same price of the outboard anyway. So let's run to something else. Let's try DI bass, first starting with the outboard. Again, the low end is different, a lot richer in the outboard. I think I added another instance of the curve bender here plugin to try to match the sound a little bit, but it creates some problems because you're adding another layer of color from the outboard, because this plugin is not transparent. You know, when you put it on a track, it does add something or take something off. So it's a bit problematic. It's not really scientific anymore, if it was at the beginning. But yeah, let's see if it helps a little bit. Yeah, the outboards still sound richer to me. I tried to match how I could the sound, but it's still very different in my opinion. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it's just different. Kind of prefer the sound of the outboard here, unfortunately, because it's a lot more expensive and a lot more troublesome to use. Anyway, let's try on guitar, stereo guitar. The thing with the stereo guitar is that I used some values that go above 5, so I had to add another instance of the Curve Bender plugin to match how I cooled the sounds. Again, I think the low end is richer. I prefer the outboard again. So let's finish with a vocal and see how it sounds quickly. It's the same with the vocal. I had to add another instance to match what I did with the outboard. So let's see.
The missing link between reason and humanity. The missing link between reason and humanity. The missing link between the missing link. The missing link.
The outboard seems to have a lot more high end, a lot more S's. So I will try to push it a little further. Let's see. Yeah, it should be the 3.6 thing. So let's try to push it a little bit more.
The missing link. The missing link. The missing link. The missing link. The missing.
I think there is more air also to it. So let's try to push a bit more the 16.
The missing link. The missing link. The missing link. The missing link. The missing link between reason and humanity. The missing link between. The missing link between reason. The missing link between reason. The missing link between reason. The missing link between reason.
Yeah, it's a lot closer now, but still I think the outboard I got, sorry for the buzzword, but more depth to it. It sounds a bit, it sounds better in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. My conclusion about this plugin is it does have a sound that sounds very similar to the outboard I use in the studio. It doesn't mean that it sounds similar to all the Chandler Limited thing, but it sounds similar to the one I use in the studio, but still quite different. So it means that I won't be able to use it the same way I use the outboard, and sometimes I like to use plugin instead of outboards to ease the recoil, so I use like the same emulation that I got at the studio. So I cannot do that with this one. I will not be able to do it, but it doesn't mean that it sounds bad, and in fact it sounds very good. It's quite amazing how it shapes the sound with such ease and such class, if I can say. So let's listen to the kick drum sound dry without any EQ. See how it sounds first. So it can give you an idea of what we started with. Okay, this is the dry kick out sound. Not bad, but a bit lame. And with the plugin, it's better. Also, it's louder. So you hear it has very good sound to me. It sounds very fat. It sounds the phase shift is very well made, if I can say. But yeah, there's something I did here which is special and which is not meant to be done. It's using the plugin on a mono track with unlinked channels, because I contacted Softube and I asked why the plugin still loads in a stereo instance and I can unlink channels on a mono track, and they told me you need to use the plugin with linked channels in mono. It makes sense. And I asked again, why is it still working that way? So they just answer me like, just don't do it. It's just not meant to be used that way. But get me closer to the hardware, and that is something a bit weird also, because like the channels are linked, we are on a mono track, and listen how it changes the sound. Change the sound still, like it's going to 10 but not really. So it's maybe a way to use this plugin and going to 10 like the outboard on mono track. You cannot do that on a stereo track, unfortunately, because you will alter the left and right channel, but it's a way to get it closer to the outboard on mono track and push it a bit more. Maybe because I felt that this plugin is close but need to be pushed more to sound like the outboard every time. And I will do a last comparison like this on the kick drum and see if I can get it closer playing with the unlinked channel on mono track. It's getting closer, right? It still not has the same solidity in the low end, but it's getting closer. If you listen closely between two kick drum, the fundamentals of the boost is different. It's like it's doing two different notes. Listen again. It's like boom, bam, boom, bam. It's a different note. Doesn't mean it's bad again. But yeah, it's something that I felt is a bit weird to use unlinked channels on the mono track, but it's not a problem. In fact, it can be cool. It's not because it's not meant to use that way that you don't have to use it that way. A lot of pieces of gear have been misused and sound great that way. It's pretty amazing sounding EQ, but it's still not sounding like the outboard I have at home in a studio, and it still suffers from the same problem most of EQ plugins have, is the way they handle the transients. I spotted the same problems on my other video about the FGA/FGA API EQ that I compared to the API EQ that I got in a studio, which is supposed to be similar, even if all the API EQs are quite different, even if being the same model. So yeah, it's the transient thing is still not there again, so it suffers from that, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. And again, if you want to see another video about Softube product that is very close to the outboard, I suggest you give a look to the video I made about the Summit TLA100A. So yeah, that was it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I will answer kindly, and au revoir.